Self-care. It's such a deep, layered word, and for me, it's really become the process of getting to know yourself, showing up for yourself over and over again. In creation of the Self-Care Creature podcast, I want to teach you, too, how to have a relationship with yourself. We're going to dive into the psychological and physiological unfoldings of adopting what I love to call a self-care lifestyle. This podcast is here to help you, the stressed out but spiritually minded individual who can feel that wild calling in your heart, who wants to develop self-care rituals to support your daily living, give you the confidence and know-how to live through your intuition and raise your self-worth. You deserve it. You are capable of this. And I want to help you understand how the hell to get there, what it actually means, and how do you actually live it. That's where my intention is with this podcast. The Self-Care Creature podcast, brought to you by me, your host, Courtney Klopp. Let's dive in. Hello, sweet community. This is going to be a unique episode today where I am reading through the newsletter that I just recently posted. So if you are listening to this from the newsletter, I will be going through that and it will have a few extra details. It might be a little bit of a longer listen than just reading it straight through. And if you're on the podcast listening to this, I will be providing a link in the show notes where you can click through and read the newsletter if you desire. And of course, there is a link to sign up for the newsletter as well. This last month has been a whirlwind of swirly things. The podcast took a break right after my birthday in March, and I feel like I've just been jumping through one thing after another. And I prefer to stray from labeling things as good or bad, and I try my best to navigate life through awareness and being in alignment with my own values with minimal judgment. And this is, of course, what I help other people do as well. So it's been interesting kind of holding that perspective as I've been navigating life over the last couple months. And with so much having transpired, I'm opting for more of a bullet-pointed list of updates right now, not necessarily in any particular order. And I am open to your feedbacks, questions, suggestions. You can either reply to the newsletter email or there's always the feedback form for the podcast. First up, many of you know that I was in a significant car accident in Seattle at the end of April. Thankfully, I am okay. I'm very grateful to be walking away from such an intense experience. I do have pretty intense whiplash, and the pain and discomfort, I'm guessing, will be with me for a minimum of 12 weeks, which is probably wishful thinking if you've ever had an experience like this, which I have not. And I also had only 8 stitches in my arm, and I'm rocking a pretty badass scar on my wrist. I did not lose any mobility. It was just, in that regard, quite a miracle. I do plan to share more about this at a later episode, but likely in a few months or later, just waiting for things to settle, still processing. But I've been taking note of common questions and conversation around this experience. And if you have anything you want to contribute or ask, check out that podcast form, and it is located and linked in the show notes as well. I recently took on a Reiki Level 1 certification through a student of mine. And so being Reiki Level 1 certified means that I am trained to perform basic Reiki energy healing on myself and also practice in group settings. As many of you know, I've stumbled down my path through all of my background, really, but especially spirituality and things like energy healing with deep skepticism. So it feels pretty cool to be at a place in my life where I'm willing and also able to understand the lineage and the practices and really trust what I'm feeling in my hands and what I'm experiencing. So Reiki is a form of energy healing. It originated in Japan in the early 20th century. It involves the transfer of universal energy through the practitioner's hands to promote physical and emotional well-being. So I see this kind of as like a clearing type modality. And there are a lot of ties and similarities to my Buddhist and Zen backgrounds originating in Japan, which made this extra intriguing for me to learn about. And I'm really excited to see how this may continue to unfold and develop. I don't say that I do energy healing in my personal practice with clients, but it is something that comes up a lot more, especially as the nervous system regulation part of the session comes in and guided meditation. So this just feels like something that over time will develop and I'll be incorporating more. And I really look forward to that. I became a certified peer support guide through Y12SR, which stands for Yoga for 12-Step Recovery. And this training, quote, connects the dots between 3 pathways of which I've been studying and traversing for over the last decade, which include yoga, mindful recovery, and being trauma informed. Typically, Y12SR meetings include both discussion and a yoga practice, offering a holistic approach to recovery. My main interest is, as a Y12SR peer support guide, is in bridging the gap between traditional recovery programs and holistic wellness practices, fostering comprehensive healing and growth. I'm still not entirely sure how I'll bring this training forth into the world. I definitely have some things brewing, and it most definitely supports the work that I'm already doing. Something that the teacher said in the training that I found really intriguing is that she finds it really common that she works with practitioners or finds for example, yoga teachers and people that just are using cannabis specifically recreationally, and they find that they just cannot not use it every day, that it's become sort of supportive / maybe on the addictive side of usage. And I just feel like I see that tendency within my own self, and I'm beginning to share in that experience with other people close to me, clients, friends. And it's definitely something that I want to hold space for, because I know that addictive tendencies can be extremely sneaky, and they're also really encouraged in that sneaky way in our society. So again, not sure how it will all unfold, but I feel very passionate and interested in being able to hold space for people and work with people in that regard. And I suppose in some ways I'm definitely already doing that. I am announcing, not just me, but we have announced our official closure of the Salt and Shadows studio space. Since 2021, my business partner Diana and I from Safe Passage Tarot and Astrology have hosted monthly moon ceremonies and built an online Patreon community for nature-inspired seekers. And since January of this year, we put our moon ceremonies, they were new moon ceremonies, on hold. And we have now decided that we will also be closing our Patreon page. And so I definitely want to take a moment to thank anybody that has supported us and been a part of these spaces over the years. We have somewhat more of an official announcement on our Instagram page. And I am also announcing, I'll say this more a little bit later here, but I am also have decided to open up my own Patreon page in the wake of this. And it's definitely bittersweet. People have been asking me how I'm doing, and I feel like that we're both, and I can only speak for myself, navigating it as best as possible. I think that there's been so many blessings in disguise coming up for me lately, including through the car accident that I had that really just blew me away with all of these little silver linings and blessings that came out of the woodwork. And so I can only imagine that closing this door is going to open things completely unknown to me, and I honestly feel excited and intrigued by that. On the horizon, I'm beginning to brainstorm more community events. Things that have been on the table include more workshops, more ceremony spaces. I've wanted to do retreats for years, and I will surely announce all of this as it comes up. I'm always open to feedback or things that you specifically want to see from me, because of course I'm doing this work and showing up to be in community and to give what the community needs. So if you are feeling like you need something or you have an idea that you want to bring my way, I'm absolutely open to that. It's interesting because I feel like I'm at this place in my life where there have been some energies or ideas circling me for years. And right now I just feel this really big and gentle push on my back, perhaps I'll say from spirit, from a greater force, just saying it is time. And I'm trying to really be slow and cognizant and taking it one step at a time, because I have been known to jump in and then not be able to follow through. And I really do not want to do that anymore in my business or in my life. So I'm trying to be really careful of the things I take on. But it's really interesting because a lot of things that I feel have been circling me for many years, it's apparently their time to land. And so I feel really, really excited about that too. There's a lot of unknown and kind of exciting energy afloat right now. In the newsletter, you can click to read the updates from the rest of the year. There's the January update, February update, and then there is also an update in April that came out basically, I think it was like the day before or after the car accident, which is interesting. Just talking through a couple of my current interests, I've come to really love this podcast called The Emerald Podcast, which explores the human experience through a vibrant lens of myth, story, and imagination. It took me a minute to get into it because of the way that it is produced in a really beautiful and unique way, but because it was just unique and new to me, my brain was like, what is this? But when I finally got into it, I'm completely hooked and highly recommend you give it a listen. The most recent episode that came out is called Let Us Sing of Syncretic Gods and Outcasts and Wanderers. Let me restate that. Let us sing of syncretic gods, of outcasts and wanderers. And it's really beautiful. It talks about the way like culture and mythology and belief systems and all of these things have to change and grow and meld together, and what's the best way to be able to do that without just blatantly appropriating things and people. And so, yeah, I just, especially in an uprising culture where we are like, no appropriation, which of course has its merit, this was a really interesting, definitely a really interesting episode to listen to. It is a couple hours, so, dive in when you're making dinner or on that commute. A TV show that I got into this last month, I just cannot watch a TV show. I have to binge it. Apparently, that's just how it goes for me. But I was watching The Ultimatum of South Africa on Netflix. If you don't know, The Ultimatum is a dating reality TV show, which I am a sucker for, where you have two people in partnership, and one of the people want to get married and the other ones don't, so they give them an ultimatum. They come on this TV show where they then break up, mingle with other people in the exact same situation, have a trial marriage with somebody else for 3 weeks, and then they come back to their original partner for 3 weeks, and then at the end of it they decide, are we getting married, the original couple? Am I marrying this new person, or are we going home single? And so, it's like silly reality TV show stuff, but I am really interested, particularly with exploring and analyzing relationships in general, and the psychology and human tendencies, I guess, human tendencies around that. But then the South Africa piece really brought in like a different cultural experience. So I thought that was really fascinating to just witness some of the really grounded, supportive individuals. They talked a lot about, or at least in my opinion, I think that they touched on more emotional aspects than you would hear in the US-based TV shows. And so I just really admire that and found that interesting. There are a couple of books that I listened to this last month. I think they were both about 3 hours, so that's a really great time for me as far as the length of an audiobook is concerned. If you didn't know, this year of 2024, I have a goal of reading all the books on my shelf that I have started but never finished. I have like a couple different categories in my bookshelf of books I've read, books I have not read, books I have started and never finished. And so I'm really trying to get through that particular category on my bookshelf this year. I'm a very, very slow reader, so I'm really just trying to give myself the goal of reading 1 book per month. So for you avid readers out there, I don't need any shade. We all have to go our own pace. And I often listen to audiobooks as well. So I listened to Soul Retrieval by Sandra Ingerman, and also Of Water and the Spirit by Malidoma Patrice Somé. Both authors narrate these reads on the audio version, so it's really cool to hear what they have to talk about. This is definitely more in the spirituality realm, the shamanic realm, just realms of that regard. I'm still very much learning. I'm very intrigued by this kind of stuff, and it certainly also supports the work that I am feeling drawn into in my life. I have an equitable support efforts piece in my newsletter where I am still slowly learning about wealth distribution, donations, and mutual aid. And so this is my effort towards those goals. There's one thing that I've discovered, and it's that donating even a few dollars to meaningful funds is incredibly crucial in our capitalistic culture, especially because we're hyper independent focused. Even small donations collectively make a significant difference, helping to shift systems, provide assistance to those in need, and restore hope. Our contribution, no matter the size, adds up to create a powerful force for positive change in our communities and beyond. And when I think about donating or giving in these ways, I think about myself needing support. If something ever happened in my life where I really needed support, there's been so many things coming up in friends' lives that I've witnessed over this year. And I just want to invite you to really, truly think about, if you lost everything, don't you think it would mean basically everything to you to have people, even strangers, show up and just be helping you along in some way, shape, or form? This is how I feel when I make these contributions. It's my reminder that we are connected, and it is support for the people that I care about or the causes that I care about in the world. I always try to maintain a local to Washington or my specific community, Bellingham, Skagit, Whatcom areas. Also, a national United States-based organization or request, and then also a global request. So starting here locally in Bellingham, I'm inviting you to support sending one of my dear friend Autumn's queer children to summer camp for LGBTQ plus youth following a difficult school year filled with transphobia and bullying. These kids are ready for respite at this incredible camp. You can click the link. I'll include it also in the show notes so you don't have to go to the newsletter and then find the link. It will just be easy to click below if you want to donate for that cause. For the U.S. national-based request this month, I'm showcasing a woman named Erica who is in need of support for basic necessities and to help keep a roof over her head while supporting one of her daughters with a recent leukemia diagnosis. I do not know this woman personally, and that doesn't really matter, but I did have somebody reach out to me on Instagram that is helping to support, and that's how she came to be in my equitable support efforts. I'm sure you can guess where the global support is coming in this month and for the last few months. Direct Palestine support and more. If you have not heard of Operation Olive Branch, I am really excited to have come across this grassroots movement to amplify Palestinian and other voices. They have a plethora of resources. They have a spreadsheet with verified families that you can choose people to support to. They have GoFundMes. I've basically been looking for something like this that directly goes to the people in need, because it can be hard to know where to donate or how to donate. And so how beautiful to live in a time where things like GoFundMe exist. I am currently supporting the Abusakar family. I'm not entirely sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I hope I am maybe close. They had reached out to me directly. They are doing their own grassroots movement, reaching out to people that they notice have interacted with the Operation Olive Branch effort. So definitely check that out and spread the word about this amazing movement. Up next in the newsletter are goals and check-ins and offerings. As far as goals and check-ins, in 2024, my words of the year are prosperity, peace, and pleasure. It's really interesting the way the word peace has been coming up a lot for me lately. I personally feel passionate about sharing my personal goals because I believe that they can be motivating and inspiring, and it's just nice to kind of check in. However, here at SCC, Self-Care Creature, we deeply prioritize the practice of slowing down and following joy. So rather than focusing only on hard goals, we also embrace the dance and discipline of supporting ourselves to prioritize our overall well-being. And after this whirlwind of the last couple of months, I find myself just continuing to return to the basics of my self-care routines. And this is why and how the SCC pillars of self-care that I created, mindset, rest, movement, nourishment, have become an important part of my life. They're this supreme structure. They are the foundation that I can return to over and over again that directly supports my mental health and well-being. And it just is such a blessing to be able to check in with those different pillars and understand how they affect me in my life and what kind of support I need. So currently I am beginning preparation for 2 spiritual ceremonies and initiations that I'll undergo this summer with my spiritual communities, and these require dietary shifts and deep intention setting. And I am also finding that I'm ready to get back to movement. My body is really craving more movement. I'm able and capable of getting back to movement. But it is also a very slow process and an intimidating one with my whiplash. And I also have hypermobility. So in general, I have to take coming back to movement at any time really slow. If I lift too heavy, for example, my sciatica will kind of act up a little bit sometimes. And so it's a whole new process of learning what I can and can't do, what kind of range of motion hurts my sacrum, my neck, my wrist, things like this. So just taking it nice and slow. If you have any interest in a peer-supported self-care goal-setting space, I host this monthly on Zoom, and I am offering it completely free for the months of June and July. There will be no meeting in August. And this is on typically the first Thursdays of the month. So we're coming up and doing one in 2 days on June 6th. And then the next one will be on the second Thursday of July because the first Thursday is the 4th. So July 11th. And this is just a relaxed, nurturing gathering, kind of with like a lounge-like mocktail vibe where we just come together, we explore the 4 pillars. Sometimes I bring a specific focus or a theme to a practice. We also do guided meditation. I'm trying to make it a bit more structured, especially now after my Y12SR training. I think that it would just be nice to have more deep intention and discussion, but I really love the way that it's been going. We have a small and solid group of us that have been showing up for the last few months, and so if you have any interest in that, I highly recommend coming and checking it out. And the drum roll of something that I'm really excited to share about with you is the new private Patreon page that I just set up. So if you enjoy the content that I share here on the podcast or in my newsletter and you want to support my work further, please consider joining my new Patreon page and community. For as little as $3, you get access to exclusive member benefits. This includes merch, weekly poetry posts, spiritual insights, short essays, community Zoom calls, and more. I will be offering a monthly new moon intention space on Zoom through this. And I am just really excited. I created some exclusive merch just through Patreon. Patreon has some pretty high quality products that it offers patrons. So I feel really excited to be able to offer this space and see what kind of comes of it. I tried to start a Buy Me a Coffee page a few years ago for anybody that remembers that or supported that. And it was, again, a time in my life where it was a really great idea, but I just lacked the follow through. And so I've felt really nervous about wanting to bring this back for that reason. But again, it's like that gentle push on my back. Like, it is time. I've had students and clients inquiring between spirituality and my writings. And so bringing it all together right here. If you want to come and work with me in person in a group setting this summer, I invite you to come to the seasonal shift shop at the Beau Sanctuary on Saturday, July 20th from 1 to 5 p.m. Self-care is not just about bubble baths or spa days, as we know. It's about slowing down, supporting, and accepting ourselves exactly as we are, where we are. So this is a half-day retreat setting where we're going to be focusing on the pillar of movement beyond just the physical movement. And I invite you to come and experience a new definition of self-care through gentle yoga, meditation, community sharing, traditional sauna sessions. And my intention is that you will leave feeling grounded, rejuvenated, and educated on cultivating a deeper and different relationship with yourself in a supportive community environment. This does cost $110, and you get 10% off if you are a member at the Beau Sanctuary. Of course, I am available for private coaching as well. All of my online courses at this time are on pause as I'm reconfiguring. I want to just get a little bit more concise. Some of you know that I've been dancing in this back and forth with my offerings as far as the online courses go. And I feel excited to get that organized and shifted, but it also is going to take some time. And apparently, the private Patreon just needed or wanted to take precedent. Featured review from a client I saw last month says, the session with Courtney was incredibly insightful, grounding, and releasing. It gave me clarity I needed to move forward in my life, and I really appreciated how Courtney met me where I'm at and gave me practical tools to use on my own. This review really just has my heart singing because this is exactly why I work with people, is to meet them where they're at, give them practical tools, and help them to feel grounded and releasing. I love that word. If you've ever worked with me, please consider leaving a review. And bonus points if you want to include a photo with that review, because apparently that boosts the reviews. I have a weekly schedule where I teach up to, how many classes am I teaching now? I think I'm still teaching 4 classes across 5 days per week. I'm available for one-on-one sessions 3 days a week. You can click on my calendar or go to my website to look at any of that. We are listening. You may be listening to the podcast at this time. Episodes are coming back for every other Friday. It just seems to be a better cadence for me. I really want to do every Friday, and I just need to get realistic, as I keep coming back to that word, realistic and intentional for every other Friday. So we've got some awesome things coming up. I have a little bit of a backlog of some amazing interviews, talking about somatics, talking about sleep, talking about how to be grounded and discerning in the online spiritual and coaching spaces. So lots of good things ahead. I really appreciate you for taking the time to listen. I also want to mention that the Grandpa Crew sweatshirts are always available on my website. They're just a very simple black or white sweatshirt with the logo and it on the front and Self-Care Creature on the back. And they're called the Grandpa Crew sweatshirts because these are the kind of sweatshirts my grandpa always wore. I also just ordered a bunch of stickers online, and so stickers will be available and coming soon too. So here is the closing statement. As previously mentioned in the newsletters, I'm entering my deep intentional ceremony side of the year. Not that life is not ceremony all of the time, because it is, and I am learning how to live it as such every single day. That is my journey. But what I'm specifically speaking to is the side of my year that becomes encompassed with preparation for and the experience of deeper practices, time with my teachers, and spiritual communities. Some of you may remember that this was previously a time of year where I traveled out to Ithaca, New York, and spent time working in retreat space. Last year was the first year in 7 that I did not travel out there, and instead I began the first of a new 4-year commitment within my spiritual community that really makes me feel called to stick around this area more than I have previously, paired with the deepening focus of my career and offerings. I feel very curious and intrigued by this new structure and path that's unfolding in my life, and I feel really, really grateful to be available for it. Very recently, I've committed to working with the woman that I consider my teacher in grief, my grief teacher, Nala Walla from the Be Well. And in a deeper way, through this summer, we'll be working together. So I'll likely be sharing more of that soon on my Patreon page. And I continue to just feel oh so very grateful about you who continue to be here and listen and read and support through the ethers. It means more to me than you may ever know, and I really, truly mean that. So here at the end of this episode, at the end of your read, I invite you to end with me here on a deep, full, intentional breath. Hands on your heart, hands on body, if comfortable. Let's take in a nice, slow breath. And just gently let it all the way out. Pressing belly button into the low spine. Just a little bit more. And just letting your breath return to its normal rhythm. This is for your nervous system and the gentle remembering that we are more connected than we may ever know or remember at any given time. You are not alone. And with love, hugs, and/or high fives, I bid you farewell for now, creature.